Back in 1987, New York was king, top of the world. And it was an amazing cultural time where celebrity and the common person hung out side by side. And there was an amazing place that would foster all that. And it was called the China Club.
It's Monday night at the China Club, and that means another free-for-all for the who's who of rock and roll. Around midnight, the big names begin turning up on stage and tuning up for the already legendary jams.
Monday nights at the China Club, Wednesdays for music, Monday to hang out, and you could find the likes of David Bowie, you could find the likes of Nile Rodgers, Carlos Alomar, Rod Stewart, Iggy Pop. I could go on and on and on, and there were two geniuses, because right now, with the way things are going, I would love a place like the China Club back in action. But there were two geniuses, Michael Barrett and Danny Freed, who had the brainchild to create this amazing place. We have Danny Freed with us here today, and we also have Christopher Saleo, who general managed the entire thing for 10 years, and 10 years in this business, a very long time. Chris Saleo, Danny Freed, welcome to the Alarmists.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
There you are.
How you doing?
All right, man. Great to see you. You look great. Christopher Saleo, Danny Freed, the China Club. I want to know what you believe made the China Club distinguished. You know, everybody talks about Studio 54, and nobody really remembers the China Club in the right way. I think the China Club brought in an era and kept an era going for almost 25 years. And I want to know, in your words, Danny, in your words, Christopher, what do you think makes the China Club so legendary?
When you came to the China Club, you know, it's not like most clubs where you would go and, you know, once in a while. When you started to go to China Club, you went all the time. So everybody started to know each other. And when something like that happens, the place becomes very welcoming, very warm. We were very fortunate that we started off by having some of the top musicians in the world of music start to hang out at the club. And the more they started to hang out there, the more they started to bring the people that they played with.
These are musical superstars. Elton John, John Entwistle of the legendary rock group The Who, and scores of others who have found a home in a dark corner club.
Talking about Georgia. I'm in Georgia.
You never know when the head of A&R, or a person who works for any record label might stop in the China Club. All of a sudden, some guy gets up on stage and he goes, "Who's that?" And he sees the audience response.
You started the club with Michael Barrett. I want to know how that happened. I mean, you said it was there, so it was called the China Club before you bought it?
No. Originally, the space was called the Game Room. It was an underground chess club. Where all the old, that's exactly what it was. Where
all the old Altacakas,
all the old Russian immigrants used to play there. And you'd get the champions like Boris Spassky and people like that.
And they would go there.
Well, there were very few chess clubs in New York.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, sweetheart, let's go out tonight. Let's go to the chess club. I don't think so.
But it wasn't just chess. You know, they had pinball machines, and they had, and it also became an after-hours place. After all the other places in that area closed, a lot of people started to hang out down in this club, which is actually how Michael found this spot in the first place.
So Michael found it and brought it to you.
Michael found it. He was a cop at the time.
Michael Barrett was a cop, okay.
In the precinct.
For about 10 years, I think.
In the 20th precinct where China Club was.
Precinct, right.
Unbelievable.
And we actually met in the Army. We were in the Army.
You served together?
Yeah, well, if you could call it that. We didn't go overseas. We were in the Army Reserves, which is like the National Guard.
Okay.
So as soon as I got out of college, I went to had to sign up. If you didn't sign up, they could draft you. So like most of my other friends, we all joined the reserves of the National Guard. And during one of those, aside from going to these meetings every once a month, you always went away during the summertime, either in July or August, for 2 weeks. And it was during one of those 2-week summer camps that
You met Michael
I
Barrett.
met Michael, yeah.
Wow. So now you and Michael, all right, so you serve together, you know each other in New York. Michael's a cop. He's a cop. That's not the normal thing for a cop to buy a club. So tell me how that went down.
Well, what happened was basically this. We had become very good friends. There was another guy, a fellow named Paul Duval, who we hung out with. The three of us plus a couple other guys, but it was basically us three that shared a couple of hotel rooms. When we went to the Army, we never stayed on the base. We always got hotel rooms near the base. So we had a lot of fun on those 2 weeks. All
right, don't kiss and tell.
Needless to say. So, and there were a lot of local girls up there. So, we had a lot of fun. Every year we went to a different hotel and we stayed there for 2 weeks.
Listen, we're going to have to save this for another show. Get to the
point. So anyway, we went there, and Michael and I just started hanging out with Paul, the three of us.
Right.
Then so we had become good friends, and then my other friend, he moved to Brazil, and he was coming up for a vacation, not for a vacation, probably for a business meeting of some kind. And he said, "Why don't the three of us all get together?" So we did, and Michael got us invited to the after party for the Cotton Club over in Astoria, and it was at that meeting of the three of us again that Paul made a suggestion. Why don't you guys try to do something together? And
so Paul Duval is the one who put the idea in your head.
Actually, yes.
Sorry,
not necessarily of a nightclub, just something.
Right, something. Right. So, all right. So how did you end up at that
Well, I'll
the
tell
game?
you what happened.
Okay.
So now, during the time that Michael was a cop, his basic hangout where he went like every night was a place called Cafe Central.
Right.
Oh, everybody. Yeah.
Okay, which was right around the corner, literally. My Cafe Central was on Amsterdam
and China Club.
75th and 74th,
Right.
or maybe 73rd and 74th, and the China Club ended up being right on 75th and Broadway. We were hanging out, and he calls me up one day, and he says, "I've got this great idea. I want you to come take a look at this place." He was looking for investors at the time. So I said, "Fine, great." So I went, I met him. He took me down into the basement where the game
So what was your first impression of the space when you saw it?
I loved it. I'll tell you why. I'm a big fan of Casablanca.
Ah.
And it reminded me.
Louis, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Exactly. Going down those steps into that basement space was like, and it was dirty and it was smoky and it was.
You're scaring me now. You're scaring me.
No, I'm telling
What's
you.
your apartment like? Come on.
That's Casablanca-esque.
But that's what it was. And
So you were seeing life in black and white.
I could see the future. I could see what we could possibly turn that place.
Isn't that an amazing feeling when you walk into a place, you have a vision, and the vision comes to life?
Yeah. The China Club, during the time that we were building, it took us almost a year to build the place with a lot of setbacks as we were going along. Plus, in fact, the landlord decided after he saw our plans that he didn't want us to do it anymore. He was going to give it to his son-in-law.
Yeah.
So that never happened.
I love that.
And it's a long story how I.
That's the sequel. That's the sequel.
Yeah. You don't want to get into all those details right now.
Yeah.
And
then, what was the opening date? You remember?
June 19th, 1985.
Right.
June 19th, 1985.
Right.
All right. So do you remember that first night?
Oh, very well.
And what was it like in a nutshell?
I hadn't gone to sleep.
Chris wasn't there yet. Chris wasn't there yet, right?
No, Chris wasn't there yet. We hadn't gone to sleep. We were just building and cleaning and brushing and painting and doing everything that you have to do to get a place open. I mean, I was like on another planet. I hadn't slept in days, but much to my surprise, it was packed. I mean, everybody invited their friends, and their friends invited their friends. And before you knew it, we had a new little place in the neighborhood. You asked me how the name China Club came to be, and it was very simple. One of the places that we used to go and hang out occasionally was Jilly's. You know, where Frank
I
Sinatra
remember,
used
of
to go.
course.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's classic.
And Jilly served Chinese food.
Yep.
And, you know, for some reason, as we were sitting around discussing what the hell we
What you
were gonna
get?
name
What you
this
get? A
place,
fucking egg roll, and suddenly you had a light bulb go off in your
I'm
head?
telling you, it just, we had the word China in our minds.
Right.
And as we were discussing, we had a dozen different names. And all of a sudden, I don't remember who spit it out. It could have been Michael, could have been me, and, you know, it could have been David. I don't know. But somebody said China Club, and everybody said, that's a great name, China Club.
Right.
We have a
Some more
surprise guest that's joined us, Steve Grillo.
Yo.
You know, Steve,
Hey,
the
Steve.
Grillovator.
Danny.
How you doing?
Hi, Saleo.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah, Danny.
Hey, buddy.
I said some of my best times ever in a nightclub were spent at the China Club.
I'm glad to hear that.
I have so many memories from being at the China Club at a very young age. I'll leave it at that.
What'd you say? You were underage?
I said I was always treated like a VIP. The line was always down the block. But Kevin and Jimmy were always
Right.
gracious enough to sneak
Yep.
me in on the side.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
So
still
that was
have
later. That was later. That was you weren't there when Big Ed was there. The door.
Yeah, Big Ed
no,
Rock.
no, I was there a little later, but I will say that some of the best memories of life were spent in the China Club. There's no doubt about that.
This is an interesting story. We had become sort of a hangout already for some musicians after Elliot Randall from Steely Dan became a friend of ours, and he decided he was going to do a little show there. He called his friend Skunk Baxter from the Doobie Brothers, and they came in with some friends of theirs, and they did a great night of songs. Well, shortly after that, we started to get a lot of musicians coming into the place, and they were sort of hanging out. And one night, this particular day, there's a great drummer that's played with some of the great bands named Steve Ferroni. And Steve was working in the studio with Bowie that day. And from what I can recall, this is not been verified or not, but it was supposed to be Steve's birthday. And a friend of his called him up and got sick. He was, you know, at that time we were having a lot of small bands, you know, local bands come in and play. And his friend got sick. He was a drummer. And he called up Steve and asked him, would he sit in for him that night at this new place down in the basement called the China Club.
Yeah.
And
So he bought some friends
when
with
Steve
him.
when Steve left the studio, Bowie said to the other guys, you know, it's Steve's birthday. Why don't we go surprise him? And,
Nice surprise.
They came. Well, it didn't happen all quite like that, but Bowie brought along Iggy, who was in a different studio, and on the way, they stopped and they picked up Stevie Winwood.
What a cab ride.
So the three of them are in the place, and the band, and they brought other members of their band also. They brought Carmine Rojas. They brought Carlos Alomar.
So how did Ronnie Wood, how did the Rolling Stone make
gonna-
his way into this?
I'm getting to that.
All right.
So what happened was, after the local band, the name of the band was called Ipso Facto. I happen to remember. When the band got off, all their instruments were still hanging on stage. So Bowie says, "Hey, let's do something. Let's have some fun." So he and his guys went up to the stage, and so that it was Bowie, it was Iggy, it was Winwood, and Bowie decided they needed a little more firepower. So he comes over to me and he says, "Can I use your office? I need to make a phone call." I said,
So this is where your office
So-
suddenly
so
became a very famous.
Well,
place.
yes,
Yeah.
except
I know
it was
that's
about a
the beginning
quarter
of
of
it,
the
yeah.
size at that time.
That
Well,
office, that
The
office
first
was.
office.
That
The
office
office was very. I remember the first time going in there, and Michael's on the desk, and he's dancing.
right.
And they're like, "Oh, this is Grillo from the Stern Show." He's like, "How you doing, man?"
The office at that time was about the size of a phone booth.
The first
Yeah,
office was
yeah.
the closet.
It
One
was
of the
yeah.
first offices
All right,
before
so
we went-
Danny, you weren't a virgin anymore. What happened next?
So the next thing that happened was he gets on the phone, And 20 minutes later, who walks into the room with his guitar strung over his shoulder? But Ronnie Wood.
Oh, fuck.
So they all the major guys went into the office there and decided what they were going to do. And
So you had David Bowie, Iggy Pop, Ron Wood, Stevie Winwood all crammed into that little cubicle you called an office.
Exactly. And they came out of the office literally arm in arm, and they walked down the aisle, hopped up on the stage, and did like an hour.
Oh, were you allowed to talk about what happened in the office?
Well, of course.
Steve, it's office, not orifice.
Yeah. Stories. Let's go around the Brady Bunch circle. Jesse, we'll start with you. What's your favorite China Club story? The one that just sticks out the whole time.
Oh, I spent so many hours.
No, not so many hours. There's one story that's gonna fucking blah 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 blah. What's your favorite story? The one that jumps to your mind right now.
Look, I'm married. I want to stay married. I met a lot of amazing people. First of all, the year that it really started kicking in 1987, that's when I became a journalist. So, and I started writing about music. So I had to be there. It was the place to be. Right. And especially after that jam session. But I met my share of beautiful damsels in distress, but it was amazing because a lot of times I would interview somebody and then I'd be told, go to the China Club that night because they're going to be there and you might be able to get more. Right. So I'd always be tagging along and there was always a story to be had.
My favorite, one of the nights that stand out is Frank Beard, the drummer from ZZ Top, was there. And I was there with a bunch of people from K-Rock. And one of the guys accidentally fell backwards, hit into, which we didn't know was Angelo Ruggiero, son. Okay. And now we're about to go at war. We don't know that it's Angelo Ruggiero. Okay. We don't know that's all of Gotti's crew. And Frank Beard, being the typical hillbilly redneck, was ready to go down fighting with us. And until, thank God, Billy Stanton came and got security and threw them out. But
Danny, did you ever hear about this before?
No.
So Frank Beard was ready to fight with us. He was on our side. He's like, "Look, I got your back, boys." and then Billy Stanton came back and he was like, we just had to throw out Angelo Ruggiero, John Gotti's nephew. I was like, "Oh, thanks."
Frank Beard, the only one without a beard.
Exactly.
So, one of my favorites is the Sam Kinison story. We have many, many Sam Kinison stories. Sam was a regular of regulars. He was a great guy. He was a lot of fun. But the one I have is the night that Sam stayed. He came to the club after his brother had just passed away. I think his brother committed suicide.
He did.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And he came to the club and he was on a bender. He had just been kind of in recovery and not drinking and doing drugs and everything else. And he had a night of nights. So now he did not want to go home. So as per usual, I stay with Kirsten.
You'll have to get into that later.
Finally, I think Danny and Michael left and it was just me, Sam, and the crew. And they were like, get him out of here as soon as you can. So what happened was Sam had to go to the bathroom. So the bathroom, as you know, is outside the glass doors.
Right.
So all his guys wanted to leave also. So I said to his guys, I said, listen, when he goes to the bathroom, I'm going to lock the glass door so it's closed and we can get the hell out of here. And the guys were like, great, no problem.
What happened?
So goes to the bathroom, comes out, pulls on the glass door. It's locked. He takes a gun out of his ankle, up, goes to shoot the door open.
Oh!
The guy tackles him. The gun doesn't go off. They tackle him. They get him up the stairs and in the car.
Up those stairs.
Oh my God!
It's now 6:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. It was a Saturday night. So I said to myself, I got to stop at the newsstand on my way home to get the New York Times. It's already Sunday morning. I stop at the newsstand. I look over, and I don't know if it was People or what magazine it was. Kinison is on the cover. 101 days clean and sober. Swear to God.
And you had the privilege of being there when he fucked up again.
One night, the president of MTV comes in with Rod Stewart, And I had met Rod before because Carmine was running his band, so he had come into the place before. I'd walk into the office. They want to use the bathroom, our private bathroom. So he said, "Go right ahead."
No glass doors, right?
No glass doors. So the two of them go in for a little snow, and when they come out, I don't even remember exactly how this started, but Rod and I got into a conversation about Al Jolson.
How the fuck did you start talking about Al
I don't
Jolson?
remember, to be honest with you. I don't remember. But within the next 10 minutes, he and I are both, I'll tell you what happened. He grew up, his mother, he told me, used to watch the Jolson Story all the time on television when he was a kid.
Mammy.
You know, with Larry Clark.
Oh, I love you.
So did I. I was a huge Al Jolson fan.
It's not a band, Chris.
Just from that movie. I loved it, just like I was with what's his name when he played the songwriter
Neil Diamond.
not Neil Diamond, Jimmy Cagney, when he did the Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh, yeah.
Those were two of my favorite.
Definitely one of my favorite movies.
When I was a kid.
All right, so you guys started. What happened?
Started talking, and before you know it, Rod and I are on our knees singing "Mammy."
On your knees now. This is a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Well,
That's how you do it.
Because Anthony Ruggiero wasn't there, was he? Because, that would explain everything.
Al Jolson would get down on one knee. Mammy.
Yeah.
So before you know it, we go into a whole medley of Al Jolson songs.
Can you give us a few bars, Danny? A few bars. I want to hear you.
You can't do that anymore, dude.
This wasn't just me then. After this started and happening, everybody was joining with us.
Right.
It was really, really funny. And this went on for years. Every time that Rod would come, we would eventually end up in the office doing Al Jolson songs. and it happened several times in LA. It happened at his wedding.
Wow.
I went to his wedding in Los Angeles when he married Rachel. And before the wedding, he pulled me over in the corner.
How embarrassing.
True story.
Yeah.
So let's get back into a little bit more of some of the pivotal points in the China Club. So eventually you start having people like Nile Rodgers coming down and Stevie Winwood and John Bon Jovi. So
Eddie Murphy
was there, Bruce and Demi.
Eddie was a regular.
Eddie was a regular. Bruce was a regular.
Bruce and I are still friends, as I said.
Well, let me tell you
NFL.
About a year after this kind of stuff was going on, we stole Frankie Salerno from Heartbreak. Right. He was working at Heartbreak. He was the promoter. And he came to work with us on Monday night. Monday night started off as his night. And the thing about Frankie was that he was hooked up with all the modeling agencies. He was a big, fat, jolly kind of guy, but he knew all the modeling agents and all the modeling agencies. So once he started to come work for us, he started to invite the models down, and they came in droves. And once the models started coming,
all the
celebrity movie stars started coming, and all the athletes started coming. The football players, the baseball players, the hockey players, the you name it.
Right.
It's like a cat following the fish.
Yeah. And, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, and Jim Kelly used to fly down from Buffalo on Monday nights just to come to the China Club.
A lot of people did.
Wow. You don't have that anymore. No,
they came every Monday they could when they were around, and in Buffalo with the day off, they were there.
You've seen him. You've read about him. Here he is, the fabulous Mr. Bruce Willis. I can't turn you loose. If I do, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Chris, what was your first day like? I mean, when I'd like to know when that moment happened.
I remember.
When do you realize you were up over your neck?
In the Hamptons. He started working in the Hamptons. When we first got started, we did 3 years in the Hamptons, and that first year, we had Chris at the door, watching the door and watching the money.
Right.
As people came in. because we had like a booth there where we would collect the money.
Right.
And he worked there all summer. And then we said, you know what? You did a great job. Why don't you come work in the city?
That's exactly what happened.
Right? That's more or less what happened.
Exactly what happened.
So your first night in the city, you remember it?
In the city, I started as like head of security because Ed had just, I don't know if Ed was just leaving, I think, because he was with me in the Hamptons and maybe he was leaving. Every night I ever worked there, to me, it was the best time of my life.
10 years.
It was
10
incredible.
years.
Yeah,
That's amazing. 10 years.
When I got promoted to manager, I said to myself, all the bartenders were in their 40s. I'm 25 years old. I said, these guys are going to eat me up and spit me out. This is going to suck. And conversely, they took me in.
Wow.
And they taught me about life, about the bar business, and I'm still friends with every one of them.
Wow.
It also turned out that Jack Pashkin taught Bruce Willis how to be a bartender.
Right. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Cafe Central, right.
So when he was working at Cafe Central and later at Kamikaze, he was friends with Jack because Jack was like his mentor in the very beginning.
Yep.
That's
and
amazing.
Bruce was a regular of regulars. I mean, as you know, I still talk to him. We're still friends. But, I mean, I can't tell you how many times he came behind the bar and bartended in that place.
How was he? Was he good?
He was great.
Yeah.
People think you can't.
I mean, he was just
giving him a cocktail.
Was he serving Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler?
Yeah, that's right.
Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler.
So you guys, when you moved to LA, that was a difficult period, I would think. You had 89, 90, and 91, right?
Right, correct.
Yep.
Now in New York, the fire department loved you guys in New York.
Here's
But not the
After a
same.
while.
New York and LA are like diametric opposites.
Right.
In New York, if you're overcrowded and at least you have some relationship with the fire guys, they let you live.
They
say,
come in, they talk to you.
Get some people out of here,
Yep.
So what we would do, because I don't have to tell you how crowded the China Club got.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
It was
So
sick.
we would go around to all our, if the fire department came down, we'd run to all our friends. We'd say, do me a favor, get out of here
for a little
20
while.
minutes.
Yep.
And we get 100 people out of the place.
Exactly, yeah.
And
I go sit with Fat Frankie and Paul Stanley at
20 minutes later, they'd come back and the fire department would leave us alone.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that in LA. In LA, if the fire department was there and you were overcrowded, they don't give you a chance. They turn.
So they shut you down.
Light, party's over. They closed us down one time with I don't know, some major player on stage. I don't
Elton
remember
John?
who it was. but they don't give you a chance. They say, go fuck yourself. There's too many people here. And the funny thing was in Los Angeles, we originally had a capacity of 500, which is healthy, which is fine. The fire department, the fire department is independent in LA. It's unbelievable. They came in and reduced our capacity to under 300.
Oh, that sucks.
What that meant was that it was impossible not to go over and make any money.
So they were setting you up.
Yeah.
They did set us up.
Following their acoustic set in Beverly Hills, most of the performers hightailed it across town to the China Club. Regular Monday night jam sessions had previously been graced by the likes of David Bowie, Elton John, and John Bon Jovi. At the club, Sting, Springsteen, Henley, Hornsby, Hancock, and Marsalis, joined by Joe Walsh and ex-Steely Dan and Doobie Brothers guitarist Jeff Skunk Baxter, jammed on 5 songs for close to an hour. Sting sang lead on Bill Withers' 1971 folk-funk classic, Ain't No Sunshine. Springsteen took the mic to lead everyone through the Wilson Pickett classic In the Midnight Hour. And Springsteen and Sting shared lead vocals on the Muddy Waters blues standard, Been Down So Long, and on Chuck Berry's jam session staple, Round and Round.
So speaking again about LA, you also had amazing people there like Springsteen.
No, what we had in LA was unprecedented.
They shouldn't have shut you down.
Yeah,
Those
it was
morons.
incredible.
It was totally unprecedented.
Tell me about some of the people that played on that stage.
I went out there every chance I could, man.
We created so much magic in LA.
Yeah.
I'd say there were probably 3 nights that would stick out of my mind, but I'll tell you, here's number 1. There was a rainforest tribute, and when it was over, it was Monday night. All the guys, these rainforest supporters were a lot of show business people, a lot of musicians, and they said it's Monday night. Let's go to the China Club. So one by one during the course of the jam. You see, we had probably the greatest jam band in the country at the China Club in Los Angeles. We had players from Bonnie Raitt's band. We had players from Little Feat. We had players from some of the top people there. And these were session players. So they're the best.
Tonight, a special edition of Showtime takes you to LA's famed China Club for an all-star jam featuring Bonnie Raitt, Michael Bolton, Bruce Hornsby, Lou Reed, B.B. King, Sting. From Steely Dan, Jeff Baxter, Andy Summers, Bill Evans, Vinx, Ricky Lee Jones, and the China Club All-Stars.
It happened at a place called the China Club in Hollywood. It was just took place last night, and it was hot.
While the jam was going on, slowly, unbeknownst to us at the time, some of these guys started to show up. And before you knew it, we had up on that stage, at one time, we had Bruce Springsteen, Sting, Don Henley, Joe Walsh, Herbie Hancock, who's the real tall guy? I always forget his name. Giant of a guy, a keyboard player.
I'm not sure.
Very tall. I forget his name. Anyway, we had 7 world-class players.
I'm getting a chubby listening to this.
Performing at the same time with our band.
Right. That's what I also wanted to say about China Club New York on the Wednesday night Pro Jam.
Right.
Go ahead.
Was the fact that our jam band was the guitarist for Spyro Gyra, the saxophone player for Billy Joel, the bass player for Rod Stewart, the guitar player for David Bowie, and these guys would come in, all the big time musicians, and they would feel comfortable going up there because they knew all these guys. So with John Bon Jovi,
so it really became a second home. It really became a second home.
Going on stage.
No, Chris is right. You see, that was the key. The reason that we were able to get so many of these world-class stars there was because the backup band was so good. And you know, the music world is a small world among the really good players, and they do know each other. And so it was like family. I mean, oh, look who's here tonight. Let's get up and play with them. You know, one night I was very good friends with Gene Kirkwood, who was a producer out there.
I remember Gene.
And Gene and I became friends in New York, and then I moved out to LA for a year or two. And one night, Gene brings Sly Stallone to the club in LA. And the next week, he comes again. Sly comes again, and he brings his next door neighbor in Malibu. Who was his next door neighbor? Elton John.
Sly was friendly, was neighbors with Elton John. That's like an
That's
an oxymoron.
Their properties touched each other.
Hollywood
they were very good friends.
bedfellows.
So Sly brought Elton and Bernie Taupin also. So they were downstairs for about an hour, you know, in the private lounge. And Elton had heard there was a great band upstairs, so we wanted to go up and listen to it. So we're all standing in front of the stage watching the band, and somebody whispers in the band leader's ear, Elton's here. So he gets up and he makes an announcement. He says, you know, I am really tired. Is there another keyboard player in the house?
That's right.
At least he was honest. At least he was honest.
Without a moment's hesitation, Elton literally jumped off from the ground up onto the stage. It wasn't that high. Got behind the keyboards and did a 45-minute set.
Oh my God! See, we don't get that anymore.
No.
But wait,
I
Jesse,
miss
that's
that
not the
shit.
best.
Oh.
Jesse, listen to this. He had so much fun. He came back the following Monday and did it again. And that was our death note.
That's one thing, because people found out, didn't they?
Right. The following Monday, there were 5,000 people trying to
Yeah, thanks, Elton, for the coverage. You know?
Exactly.
Fucking
That
you
day
shut us
on,
down.
From that day on, the police department, the fire department never let us alone.
Absolutely.
Listen, I just want to say, Danny Freed, Chris Saleo, thank you for coming on The Alarmist. What an amazing story. We're going to have to do a part 2, and maybe Danny's right. We may have to make this ongoing. This is too good to be true.
You said it.
All right, man. You know what? You guys have not aged. You look the same.
Thank you.
No one paid me to say
You
that.
too. You look good too.
You. Anyway, thank you for coming on The Alarmist.
Good to
Stay
see you,
safe.
Jesse, always.
To be continued, man.
Be well.
Woody Harrelson from Cheers showed up to sing, while Julian Lennon and Michael Keaton were in the shadows keeping time with whatever they could find, and Bruce Hornsby stayed behind the keyboard throughout. But it was Bonnie Raitt herself who capped it all off with her own kind of solo.
We've been very fortunate over the years that so many stars from the music industry, as well as personalities from television, movies, and sports, have sort of adopted the China Club as their home away from home.